The movie begins centuries ago when humanity depleted Earth's natural resources, plunging society into chaos and endless wars. To salvage what remained, the world's top scientists embarked on a mission to save civilization. They engineered genetically modified orchids, which became the new source of energy. Yet, even with this breakthrough, human conflicts persisted. In response, the scientists developed the transformation, a procedure performed when individuals turn 16, transforming them into their most perfect selves. These transformed individuals, known as pretties, live in harmony in the city, free of conflict and brimming with happiness. Meanwhile, those who haven't undergone the procedure, called uglies, reside in dorms in Uglyville. Tally, eagerly awaiting her transformation, frequently uses a mirror app to imagine her future self as a pretty. Her closest friend, Paris, shares a bond with her since childhood, and they affectionately call each other Nose and Squint. Sometimes, Tally and Paris sneak out to the bridge during curfew, using special glasses to catch glimpses of the pretties partying in the city. Tally's 16th birthday is just 3 months away, but Paris is older and scheduled for his transformation the next day. They share matching scars on their hands and vow to keep them. Their secret moment is interrupted by a patrol drone flying by, prompting them to rush back to their dorms. The next day, during assembly, Tally overhears students talking about the Smoke, a rumored hidden place outside the city led by a mysterious figure named David. It's said that some people escape the city to live there. A hologram of Governor Cable appears, delivering a speech on the importance of being pretty and perfect. Afterward, all newly turned 16-year-olds are called up, and Tally says a bittersweet goodbye to Paris. That evening, as Tally watches the fireworks above the city, she reminisces about the day she first met Paris. It was the day her parents dropped her off at the dormitories, and Paris had been standing right behind her in line. They instantly connected, trading nicknames, and quickly became best friends. One day, Paris accidentally cut his hand while grabbing a tablet from Tally, and she deliberately gave herself the same scar. As the days pass, Tally falls into her routine, going to class, gazing at her reflection in the mirror, and checking her interface ring for any messages from Paris, but none ever come. After a month, determined to see him, Tally uses her ring to hack open her window and leaves it behind, knowing it has a tracker. She sneaks out and heads to the bridge, but Paris is nowhere to be found. Growing anxious, she climbs the bridge using a rope, navigating beneath it precariously until she reaches the city. And when a partygoer drops a mask, Tally seizes the opportunity. Putting the mask on, she triggers a hologram that makes it look as if she's wearing an elegant gown. She eventually spots Paris, who looks completely transformed and doesn't recognize her at first. Tally removes her mask and confronts him, asking why he didn't meet her at the bridge. Paris, visibly changed, explains that things are different now. He doesn't know how to relate to her anymore. Tally realizes just how much he's changed when she notices that his scar is gone. The security system detects her unauthorized presence. With guards closing in, Tally makes a quick escape. In a last-ditch effort, she steals a bungee jacket and leaps into the night. Tally's fall is long, but the bungee jacket cushions her landing. Without wasting time, she dashes out of the city, sneaking back under the bridge. Just as she accidentally kicks a stone into the water, a drone detects her and moves in to arrest her. Her classmate Shay appears out of nowhere, urging Tally to hop on her hoverboard. They speed away, the drone hot on their trail. Shay's expert driving helps them lose the drone by performing daring maneuvers through the woods. Grateful for Shay's help, Tally sneaks into the kitchen and steals some snacks for them to share. The two bond over how difficult it is to be left behind while all their friends have already turned 16. They're thrilled to discover they share the same birthday. The next day, Shay brings a second hoverboard and tries to teach Tally how to ride it, though Tally clumsily falls right away. Later at school, Tally is surprised to see some girls returning a book to Shay, as physical books have become a rarity. The girls are fascinated by the book's descriptions of surviving in the wilderness, sparking curiosity about whether life in the Smoke might be like that. Tally borrows the book. As days pass, Tally reads the book and learns more about survival, but her thoughts remain fixated on the upcoming operation, longing for the moment when she, too, will become a pretty. Shay continues teaching Tally how to master the hoverboard, while Tally, in return, uses her hacking skills with her ring to snag them extra food. Tally also shares her pretty designs from her app, but to her surprise, Shay doesn't even have an account. As Tally gets better at flying, the two girls spend their days doing tricks on ramps, having the time of their lives on their hoverboards. When Tally returns the book to Shay, she comments on how beautiful the natural world described in it sounds, wishing she could see it for herself. Shay then brings up the Smoke and takes Tally to the edge of the woods. Leaving their rings on some branches to avoid being tracked, they cross the border by riding their hoverboards over the river. They reach the ruins of an ancient city, where Shay introduces Tally to relics of the past, In an abandoned building, Shay reveals the truth. The smoke is real, and David, the mysterious leader, will be arriving soon. Shay confesses that she has no intention of getting the surgery and plans to leave for the smoke that very night. She wants Tally to come with her, but Tally refuses. Shay hands her directions to the smoke in case she ever changes her mind. After a tearful hug, Shay leaves on her hoverboard. The next day is Tally's birthday, but as the other candidates are called, her name is mysteriously left out. A guard escorts her onto an aircraft and flies her to a meeting with Dr. Cable. Cable informs Tally that Shay is missing, and when Tally denies knowing anything, Cable uses advanced technology to detect that she's lying. Cable warns Tally that Shay is in danger, claiming that David has brainwashed her. Tally continues to insist she knows nothing, but Cable sends her back to her dorm without allowing her to undergo the surgery. That night, Tally is surprised when Paris appears at her window. She confides in him about what happened, and Paris urges her to tell Dr. Cable everything so they can finally be pretties together. Tally is summoned once again to see Dr. Cable, who reveals that David is allegedly developing a weapon to attack the city. Cable tasks Tally with infiltrating the smoke and finding out the truth, and Cable promises that if she succeeds, she'll get the surgery. As part of her mission, Cable gives her a necklace with a flashing signal device, which Tally must activate once she locates the weapon. Following Shay's directions, riding along an old, crumbling roller coaster track for miles. When she encounters a gap and falls into the woods, a force field catches her, preventing her from crashing to the ground. Now surrounded by nature, over the next few days, Tally navigates the wilderness, putting to use the survival skills she learned from the book Shay lent her. As Tally follows the abandoned train tracks, she comes across a large gap over a deep chasm. With no other option, she hops back on her hoverboard and makes a daring leap across. The board shuts down. Just before she hits, the board reactivates, allowing her to glide safely to the other side. Tally waits in a field of flowers. Back in the city, Dr. Cable brings Paris to her office, revealing that his visit to Tally's dorm wasn't a coincidence. It had been orchestrated by her. Paris admits that returning to the city made him feel like his mind was clearer, more focused. Cable then shares that a select few are being chosen for a new experimental procedure, offering advanced body enhancements. Paris agrees to undergo the surgery. That night, as Tally sleeps in the field, she wakes up coughing from the thick smoke surrounding her. The field has caught fire. A mysterious figure appears and rescues her from the flames. It's David, who immediately starts scanning Tally and her belongings for any tracking devices. But his scanner doesn't react to the necklace Tally is wearing. At the same time, Cable's men are alerted to the removal of the tracker and dispatch a team to search the area. In the morning, David and Tally arrive at a smoke outpost where she is reunited with Shay. Shay is thrilled to see her friend, but Croy is visibly suspicious of Tally's sudden arrival. That night, Shay notices Tally's necklace and asks about it. Tally lies and says it was a gift from Paris. Despite her excitement to see Shay, Tally can't help but feel uneasy, recalling what Dr. Cable said about David and the smoke. The next day, Tally learns a startling truth. The smoke intentionally starts fires to burn the genetically modified orchids because they're highly toxic and destroy the ecosystems wherever they grow. Tally argues that the orchids were supposed to be a clean energy solution, but David reveals that this is a government lie. The flowers are slowly turning the planet into a barren wasteland. They board an old helicopter that the smoke members had restored with solar panels. Tally sees with her own eyes the devastation caused by the orchids. Shay uses a flamethrower to burn down as many orchids as possible, but Croy's tablet suddenly detects someone approaching. David quickly lowers the helicopter into the thick smoke from the burning flowers. The sudden movement loosens a rope, and Shay slips and falls into the fiery field below. She ties a bag at the end of the loose rope for extra weight and then uses it to descend into the flames in search of Shay. Tally finally spots Shay and helps her up just as a scout gets too close for comfort. Tally grabs the flaming bag and hurls it at the scout. The girls cling to the rope as the helicopter takes off, narrowly escape. After they land safely, Croy accuses Tally of being the reason the scouts found them in the first place. But Shay stands by Tally, insisting she would never betray them. David, impressed by Tally's bravery, declares that anyone willing to risk their life for a member of the smoke deserves a chance. That night, the group sets up camp. Her mind is weighed down by thoughts of Dr. Cable and the manipulation tactics she'd been taught. She steps outside the tent for some air and stumbles upon David bathing in the river. The next day, Tally is blindfolded and led to the heart of the smoke, a hidden, self-sustaining community thriving in the wilderness. Life in the smoke is simpler but more challenging. Tally notices that while things are harder, the food tastes fresher and better because it's grown by the people themselves. Everyone, including the elderly, works for their survival and there's no currency. And most importantly, everyone lives there by choice. The residents of the smoke even recycle old train tracks to make tools. One afternoon, Tally stumbles upon a strange door and tries to peek inside, but Croy catches her snooping and sternly sends her away. Tally starts integrating into the community. She learns to use tools to help with the track recycling, experiences the taste of spicy food for the first time, and even joins in on the lively dances around the fire. David begins to teach Tally how to use a hunting crossbow, and their time together strengthens their bond. David reveals that he's never been to the city. He was born and raised in the wild by his family. Moved by their growing connection, David gives Tally a pair of gloves he made himself. Soon after, a smoke member returns from an orchid-burning mission with a wound, warning that the scouts hunting them seem stronger and faster than usual. As the camp grows more tense, Shay notices Tally wearing the gloves and points out how significant the gesture is. In the smoke, handmade objects carry a special value, and the fact that David gave Tally something he crafted himself means he has strong feelings for her. Later, when Tally takes another walk with David, she brings up the rumors she's heard about a supposed weapon to destroy the city. David takes her to a secluded house far from the main camp. Tally meets David's parents, AZ and Maddie, who reveal themselves as guardians of the smoke's most valuable resource. They've preserved countless books and ancient texts, including the truths hidden by the city's regime. AZ and Maddie, once government cosmetic surgeons, had grown suspicious of the brain alterations secretly done during the Pretty transformation. The surgery didn't just change appearances. It made people dumb and compliant, hiding the truth under a facade of happiness. The operation had also led to many deaths, which the government covered up. When Dr. Cable realized AZ and Maddie knew the truth, she stole their research. AZ and Maddie have been trying to recreate the cure, but lack a key synthetic component, called a weapon, could expose the truth about the city. After the meeting, Tally throws her tracking necklace into the fire, committing to the smoke. She tries to confess her past mistakes to David, but he tells her they don't matter, and they kiss. However, the necklace sparks in the fire, alerting the city. The next morning, city aircraft attack the smoke, and the scouts start capturing rebels, including Shay. Despite traps, the scouts, stronger and faster, overwhelm the smoke. Tally hides with David and stops him from going out to help, knowing they're outmatched. They sneak to the area where prisoners are gathered, and Tally is horrified to see Paris has become a scout. As AZ and Maddie are captured, Cable arrives and orders Paris to kill AZ when they refuse to reveal David's location. David and Tally rush to stop Paris, but they're too late. Cable reveals that Tally was working for her, causing the smoke members to turn against her. Maddie secretly slips the serum into David's pocket. As Cable announces that everyone will undergo the Pretty surgery, Tally starts a fire in the supply shack, grabs a crossbow, and escapes. The fire causes an explosion, giving David a chance to flee. Tally stops a pursuing scout with an arrow, but Cable orders her team to leave after destroying Maddie's research and setting the area on fire. David gathers supplies for a rescue mission, but when Tally approaches him, he nearly attacks her out of mistrust. Tally convinces him to let her help, pointing out that he needs her knowledge of the city. Later, in the city, Tally connects with the students who had read Shay's book and introduces them to David, proving that the smoke is real. She borrows an interface ring and organizes a group of kids to create a distraction. Soon, they write "The Smoke Lives" in the sky using hoverboards. While the distraction unfolds, David and Tally sneak into the clinic using hoverboards and bungee vests. As they carefully make their way inside, Tally tries to hack a lock with the ring, but it doesn't work. Suddenly, a Pretty opens the door, prompting David to fight him. David overpowers him, and Tally quickly takes his ring. David throws the Pretty into the corridor, and Tally locks the door just as alarms sound. They find the cell and use the ring to free everyone, but Tally realizes Shay is missing. Croy informs her that Shay has already undergone the surgery. As most of the group escapes, Tally, David, and Maddie search for Shay, only to find her transformed into a Pretty. Tally is heartbroken and apologizes, but Shay insists she loves it. At that moment, Cable and Paris arrive, forcing them into the surgery machines. Just as the operation begins, a smoke helicopter appears, and Croy opens fire with a flamethrower, causing chaos. Cable and Paris retreat, damaging the machines and halting the surgery. The trio escapes, and Tally grabs Shay while Maddie retrieves a crucial component from a cupboard. They run to the roof where they find Paris. Tally tries to reason with him, using their nicknames and reminding him of the glass that gave him his scar. Paris touches her face gently, but David misinterprets it as a threat and tackles him. Paris gains the upper hand, but before he can seriously hurt David, Tally uses a hoverboard to tackle Paris, causing him to fall off the edge. Paris hangs on for a moment, calling out her nickname before falling into the waterfall. The group escapes on hoverboards and watches as other teens make the drones crash into each other in the sky. They find refuge in the abandoned city, where Maddie takes the serum from David's pocket to complete the cure. She cannot guarantee its effectiveness or the potential side effects on the brain. Shay refuses to force anyone to take it, and when Tally volunteers as the test subject, she plans to turn herself in and undergo the surgery so she can take the cure. She promises to signal the group to indicate whether it works. As aircraft and cable approach, the group shares a final goodbye and flees, leaving Tally to be arrested by the scouts. Later, Tally finds herself living as the perfect pretty in a luxurious apartment. She insists she loves her new life, but the scar on her hand reveals the truth. She's still herself, lying as a spy.